The slap was louder than the heart monitor. The entire ER went bone-dry silent. Dr. Silas Preston, the hospital's golden boy, didn't just scream at the new nurse. He snapped. He grabbed her by the hair, yanked her head back, and hissed into her ear, "Know your place, trash." The staff waited for the tears. They expected her to beg for her job. They didn't know that the woman in the baggy, faded scrubs wasn't just a nurse. She was Major Harper Bennett, a Night Stalker veteran who had performed surgery in the vibrating belly of a burning Blackhawk while under RPG fire. And Silas Preston? He just made the last mistake of his career. Seattle Memorial was a different kind of war zone. No mortar shells, just monitors. No IEDs, just heart attacks. Harper Bennett moved through the chaos like a ghost. She was 32, but her eyes looked a century old. In 3 months, she hadn't said 50 words. She took the graveyard shifts. She cleaned the bedpans. She did the grunt work the senior nurses laughed at. To them, she was a nobody, a travel nurse with a shaky resume and a backbone made of glass. Bennett, move it. That was Dr. Silas Preston. He was 45, handsome in a way that made you want to punch him, and possessed an ego that barely fit through the double doors. He treated the staff like footmen in his father's mansion. Harper didn't flinch. She just picked up the tray and walked to Bay 4. "You're late," Preston sneered, stitching a drunk student's arm. "Do you have any idea what my time is worth?" "Apologies, doctor," Harper said. Her voice was flat, empty. Preston snatched a tool from her tray, deliberately brushing his bloody glove against her hand. Then, he wiped his hand on his gown as if she were a disease. In the corner, the other nurses whispered, "I don't know how she takes it." David, the charge nurse, sighed. "She has zero backbone." "He's untouchable," Chloe replied. "His dad owns the board. Bennett is just easy prey." Inside the supply closet, Harper leaned her head against the cool metal shelf. "In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 4. Her hands were steady. They were always steady. They were steady when her convoy hit a landmine in the Karangal Valley. They were steady when she plugged a hole in her captain's chest while bullets shredded the air inches above her head. Men like Preston didn't scare her. Men like him were soft. They broke when the coffee was cold or the AC went out. She pulled her sleeves down. They hid the shrapnel scars on her left arm and the Night Stalker tattoo on her right wrist. She wasn't here for glory. She was here to hide. The army had sent her home after a mission in Syria went sideways. Low-stress environment, the psych said. So, she scrubbed floors and let a bully play God. It was part of the mission, blend in. Don't engage. Then the sirens started. "Bennett, get out here," Preston roared. "Incoming multi-trauma." The doors burst open. The air instantly turned heavy with the smell of rain and copper. "Male 50s, multiple GSWs to the chest," the paramedic yelled. "BP is crashing. We lost him twice in the rig." Preston was in his glory, soaking up the adrenaline. "Bay 1. Bennett, get on suction. Don't screw this up." Harper stepped to the head of the bed. She looked at the patient. He was a mountain of a man with a gray beard. Under the blood on his shoulder, she saw it. A dagger with wings. Special Forces. She looked at his face. It was Master Sergeant Fort Knox, her training officer from a decade ago. "He's flatlining," David yelled. "Paddles. Charge to 200, Preston screamed. The room was a mess of shouting, but Harper saw what Preston missed. The blood wasn't just pooling. It was bubbling. "Doctor," Harper's voice cut through the noise. It wasn't a whisper anymore. "Breath sounds are absent on the right. Trachea is deviated. It's a tension pneumothorax. Shocking him won't work. He needs a needle decompression. Now." The room went dead silent. Preston looked at her, his face turning a dark, ugly purple. "Are you a doctor, Bennett? Did you get your degree from a cereal box?" "Look at the jugular distension," Harper commanded. "If you don't drop a needle in his chest, he's dead in 30 seconds. "Shut up," Preston roared. "I am the attending. You are a nurse. You change the sheets and you keep your mouth shut. Charge to 360. Clear. Thump. The body jolted. Nothing. Flatline, David whispered. Damn it. Preston threw the paddles down. Call it. Time of death. 1922. No, Harper said. She didn't think. She didn't care about her low-stress mission anymore. She grabbed a 14-gauge needle from the tray. What do you think you're doing? Preston stepped in her way. Move, Harper said. Her eyes were cold, dark tunnels. You're fired. Get out of my Preston snapped. He had never been told no. He reached out, grabbed the back of Harper's scrub cap, and yanked. The violence of it sent Harper stumbling into a metal cabinet with a loud clang. Preston stood there, chest heaving. He expected her to cry. He expected her to run. Harper slowly straightened her cap. The quiet nurse was gone. She squared her shoulders. She found her center. Her stance shifted, feet shoulder-width apart, weight on the balls of her feet. You shouldn't have done that, Harper whispered. Security, Preston barked. He reached for her arm again. Harper didn't punch him. She didn't need to. As he lunged, she stepped into his guard, trapped his wrist, and swept his leg. 1 second, Preston was a god. The next, he was face down on the linoleum, his arm twisted behind his back at an angle that made him scream like a terrified child. Stay down, Harper ordered. It wasn't a request. It was a command from an officer to a hostile. She stepped over his groaning body and grabbed the needle. David, tie me, she said. She found the spot. She plunged the needle in. Hiss. The sound of escaping air filled the room. Beep, beep, beep. Sinus rhythm. The heart was beating. Harper stripped off her gloves and looked down at Preston, who was shivering on the floor. He's alive, Harper said. And you, doctor, are relieved of duty. The ER felt like a frozen photograph. No one moved. No one breathed. Then the doors swung open. 2 police officers and the hospital administrator, Sterling Preston, rushed in. Sterling was Silas's father, a man who used his wealth like a sledgehammer. That's her, Silas shrieked, scrambling off the floor and clutching his wrist. She's unstable. She attacked me while I was trying to save a patient. Harper didn't run. She didn't argue. She stood at parade rest, hands behind her back, watching the heart monitor. Ma'am, hands where I can see them, the officer said, reaching for his cuffs. She saved that man's life. David, the charge nurse, yelled. Shut up, David, Sterling Preston hissed. He walked right up to Harper, his expensive shoes clicking on the tile. He leaned in, smelling of peppermint and malice. I will ruin you. I'll make sure you're cleaning toilets in a prison by morning. You're a nobody, Bennett. A bug on my windshield. Harper looked him in the eye. You have high blood pressure, Sterling. You should watch that. As they led her out in handcuffs, the hospital went silent. But the nurses weren't looking at her with pity anymore. They were looking at her like she was a giant. The police precinct was cold and smelled of stale coffee. Harper sat in a metal chair, one hand cuffed to the table. Detective Reed sat across from her. He looked tired. The Prestons are pushing for felony assault, Harper. They say you used a weapon. They say you have PTSD and just snapped. If I had snapped, Detective, Dr. Preston wouldn't be walking, Harper said calmly. Look, they're powerful. Sign this confession, apologize, lose your license, and they'll let you leave town. If you don't, you're going to a state cell. Harper leaned forward. I need one phone call. To a lawyer? No. To a friend. She picked up the phone and dialed a 12-digit international sequence. This is Sierra 79er, she said into the receiver. Her voice was cold steel. Code black. Location. Seattle PD Precinct 4. Hostage situation. I'm the hostage. She hung up. Who was that? Reed asked, confused. Get some coffee, Detective, Harper said. It's going to be a very long night. 20 minutes later, the walls of the precinct literally shook. The heavy steel doors to the interrogation wing were kicked off their hinges. 2 men in full tactical gear, no badges, no names, stepped in with carbines raised. Behind them walked a man in a crisp army uniform with 3 silver stars on his shoulders. General Holloway, Sterling Preston's high-priced lawyer, who had just arrived to gloat, stood up. "Excuse me, this is a private." Holloway didn't even look at him. He walked straight to Harper. "Major Bennett," the general said, nodding. "General," Harper replied. "Unlock her," Holloway ordered Reed. "Now wait a minute," the lawyer stammered. "She's under arrest for assaulting a prominent surgeon." Holloway turned. The look in his eyes had ended wars. "Son, the prominent surgeon you're talking about nearly killed a Tier 1 operator under my command. And you're interfering with a federal investigation into medical negligence." The handcuffs were off in seconds. Harper stood up, rubbing her wrists. She looked at the lawyer. "Tell Silas the bug just hit back." Harper didn't go home. She went back to the hospital. But she wasn't in scrubs. She was in a flight suit. She met Nurse Kinsley in the server room. Kinsley was shaking, holding a laptop. "They're wiping the files, Harper." Sterling ordered a system purge. "All the deaths Silas caused. It's all disappearing." "Not if we take the hardware," Harper said. Just then, the door burst open. 2 of Sterling's private security fixers stepped in. One had a gun. The other had a stun baton. "Step away from the server," the gunman barked. Harper didn't hesitate. She threw a heavy wrench with sniper-level precision. It caught the gunman right between the eyes. Before the second man could react, Harper was on him. She used his own momentum to slam him into the server rack and finished him with a sleeper hold. She yanked the hard drive out of the mainframe just as the screen hit 99% deletion. In the hallway, she ran into Silas. He was holding a gun, his face twisted with rage. "You ruined my life," he screamed. "You did that yourself, Silas," Harper said. Suddenly, the hallway filled. Not with police, but with nurses. Dozens of them. They stood behind Harper, blocking Silas's path. They held 4 poles and clipboards like shields. "Go ahead, Silas," David said. "Shoot us all. We're all witnesses now." Silas dropped the gun. He fell to his knees, sobbing. The golden boy was broken. In the hospital lobby, Sterling Preston was holding a press conference. He was mid-sentence, telling the cameras about the dangerous, mentally ill nurse. When the giant LED screens behind him flickered, the video that played wasn't a hospital ad. It was the security footage of Silas slapping Harper. Then, it was the audio of him calling her trash. Then, a list of names started scrolling. Patient 402. Dead. Cause. Silas Preston. Cover up. Sterling Preston. Patient 519. Wrong limb removed. Cover up. Sterling Preston. The lobby went dead silent. Then the shouting started. General Holloway walked in with the state police. They didn't go for Harper. They went for Sterling. As they clicked the cuffs on the billionaire, Harper walked up to him. She held up the shattered hard drive. "I told you to watch your blood pressure." "Sterling," she whispered, "you look a little stressed." The hospital lobby erupted in applause. Not for a doctor, but for the nurse in the dirty jumpsuit. Master Sergeant Knox, the man she saved, was wheeled out onto the balcony. He gave her a weak thumbs up. "The Pentagon needs a new medical lead for high-risk zones." "Harper," Holloway said, "your commission is waiting. You don't belong in a basement." Harper looked at the nurses, the team she had fought for. She looked at the ER doors where a new ambulance was arriving. "Thanks, General," Harper said, grabbing a fresh pair of gloves. "But I think I'll stay here. Someone has to make sure the next golden boy actually knows how to use a scalpel." She pushed through the double doors, heading back into the chaos. She didn't hide her scars anymore. She was Major Harper Bennett, and she was exactly where she needed to be. What part of this story shocked you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.